Hello everyone and welcome back to game week 1 of the 25-26 Slater and Gordon Premiership, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, alongside Ethan Galloway for Villa Rocket versus GBG Knight. Let's go through the squads very quickly before we bring you the action live, starting with the designated home team. They have Nicky Baker, they have Bobby Allen, they have Dave Lewis, Hamza Madir, Kieran Burns, Rosie Hodgson and Amir Ali. And GBG Knights, promoted from the 24-25 Championship, have Ben Keat, Reese Mallet, Kai Shah, Oscar Smedley, George Holloway and Jack Ewins. Both teams have played 2, both have lost twice, so searching for their first points in the new campaign. Ethan, first time on commentary, how are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Good, thank you. Looking forward to a good game. As you said, both teams hunting for their first win. Villa, a lot of new players. They'll want to start to see some promising signs of gelling. And obviously GBG Knights, newly promoted, looking to get their first Premiership win.
Yeah, I mean, talk about tough introductions to Premiership football. GBG Knights started against Newcastle United Foundation. They lost that one 2-0 before facing the 24-25 champions Teesside. That one they lost 6-0. So this certainly on paper maybe reflects the best opportunity to register points in the weekend thus far. Villa Rocket started against Greenbank, who have been pretty impressive across game week 1. They lost that one 4-0 before a very close, cagey defeat to Newcastle United Foundation. If and where possible, Villa will desperately be wanting to secure points in this game, because their final matchup of game week 1 is against Teesside. Teams just going through their final warm-ups before we bring you the action live. Just while we've got a break, I'll be able to show you the live league table. Disregard Championship at the top. You can see 3 wins from 3 set leads away at the top. Aspire about to play their 4th game of game week 1 against Throssels on Court B. But if you're looking at these two, there is a pack at the bottom from 8th down to 12th of teams who are yet to register points, and it's going to be so closely contested at the bottom. Yourself and Middlesbrough obviously in that pack, Ethan, so close to getting something from that game against Leeds. Give me your assessments on it, because I was commentating on Court B at the time.
Yeah, it was a tough game, obviously, first half. We went into the break 1-0 up. A nice strike from Umar Hanif, almost from his own box. Split the 2 pivots and rolled over the line. Leeds came back, fighting, brought on Jack Maxwell, and he was the difference. He scored 2 goals. Absolutely exceptional finishes. But yeah, it was a bit of a 6-0, but at the same time, you recognise the talent that Leeds have, and you kind of have to do it all well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for many, they've gone from a contender to what now is looking like a really credible title favourite.
Yeah.
And that's a huge shift.
Definitely.
But it's, yeah, intriguing to see. I mean, just talking about Jack Maxwell very quickly, a lot of our attention naturally has been drawn towards the Ethan Fishers and the Dylan Kelters. As Bobby Allen's going to have a strike, can't get the timing or connection. But I was saying, Ethan Fisher, Dylan Kelters, Dan Rigby, Lewis Harris, that has our attention. They've got some really good players and wide options in Jack Maxwell and Summer Rice as well that we don't necessarily talk about as much as we maybe should.
Yeah, no, they've got a really deep squad. Players that can come on and be the difference, like Jack in that last game. And yeah, for many of the teams, that's quite a scary thought, I think. Teesside and Aspire have definitely the deepest squad with that amount of quality. So yeah.
Well, Jack Maxwell did finish joint top goal scorer in 24-25 as Bobby Allen gets much cleaner connection on that time. Let's go through the starting squads very quickly. Amir Ali, Hamza Madir, Bobby Allen and Dave Lewis comprise Villa's starting four. Jack Ewins, Oscar Smedley, George Holloway and Kai Shah, that of GBG Knights. One thing is for sure, is in the first couple of minutes it feels really open and fast paced.
Yeah, Villa have put through a few good passes and already had 2 promising attacks.
Having just come off Greenbank versus West Brom, the quality of the players is undeniable, but they just seem to cancel each other out. And already I can feel more energy, more purpose in this game, where I think both teams think they can win, and that is playing into their confidence.
Yeah, by the looks of it, both teams are wanting to play football. As a spectator, that's what you want.
Dave Lewis to take. Bobby Allen at the back post. Blocked by Jack Ewins into Kai Shah. Ops against, swiping at that. For the first time of asking. A little bit of contact from Hamza Madir on the follow through. Paul Yates, our central referee. 2-on-1 in favour of Villa Rockets. Dave Lewis on the left. Just can't keep it in play. I think if you're looking for some narratives, some stories, Bobby Allen used to line up with then Nomad Knights. Now he's playing for Villa Rockets. Nomad Knights kind of disbanded and rebranded under the banner of GBG Knights. A lot of the same core. They were unable to secure safety when they was up under the banner of Nomad, so that's probably the main objective for 25-26, is just to secure enough points to ensure that you don't dip into the relegation zone. It's going to be so close at the bottom, isn't it? I mean, even if you reference the standings now, it's almost 2 packs. There's 6 and 6, where the quality of the top 6, anyone could be champion. And then the bottom 6, I don't know where you place your chips for who would be relegated.
Yeah, I think it could come down to the last match day. Even at that, could come down to goal difference. Really competitive league this year, and yeah, it's looking, shaping up to be an exciting one for sure.
Hamza Madir. Good pick off from George Holloway into Kai Shah, into the 180. Jack Ewins following up the effort from nowhere. That's better from GBG Knights, who have had to absorb a fair amount of pressure in the opening 5 minutes. But that showed their quality on the break. I wonder if it's somewhat of a game plan that they invite that pressure, those numbers forward from Villa, and then look to exploit on the counter. But it's a fairly fluid system from Villa. They're switching things up. Certainly those central players in Hamza Madir and Amir Ali, who's now on the left-hand wing. Dave Lewis trying to find Bobby Allen. Once again, a really good contribution from George Holloway to relieve pressure on his defence. Ewins into the 180 of Kai Shah. Beautiful feint from Bobby Allen to take Jack Ewins out of play. Advancing down that right-hand wing and just plays it off Oscar Smedley's back wheel. It's really nice play from the Villa number 7.
Very clever play.
So a corner ball to resume play. Blocked by Oscar Smedley. Bobby Allen readjusts to take possession. Very congested in that attacking third. Bobby Allen happy to wait into the box once again. Wins his side the corner ball. Aspire a goal up on court B. Dave Lewis trying to open the scoring on court A. It's been a good game of football so far.
Yeah, I think both teams will be very happy with how they've started. I would say Villa have had more attacks, but GBG, they also had one a couple of minutes ago. And yeah, both teams look threatening, but no one's broken deadlock just yet.
Over to Bobby Allen at the back post. It fires off the right hand upright. Oscar Smedley desperately across. Looked almost a certain goal from our angle. The danger's still live as Dave Lewis follows it up. Blocked by Oscar Smedley. Best opportunity we've had in the game thus far. Looked in from our angle, Ethan.
It did. Some really nice play there from Villa. Just can't quite get that final finish.
Putting himself in some fantastic areas. Bobby Allen sits only one league goal away from registering 50 in the National League, and that is so aggressive from Kai Shah, just to try and force it over the line. Strong appeals from Dave Lewis. The post, which you probably can just about see on the left of your screen, is being barged 2 or 3 metres out of its original position. I rate the intent from Kai Shah. Yeah. I think from the looks of it, he's won his side a corner ball. Such aggressive play, and I mean that in the best possible way. Oscar Smedley up to take. Into the box, Jack Ewins didn't have the angle to engage it. What a game this has been. Ewins into the 180 once again. Over to George Holloway. I don't think he was expecting it. The follow-up effort from Kai Shah. Sensible from Amir Ali. Just covered the bigger gap in the goal. It went through a sea of players to eventually meet George Holloway. Just wasn't expecting it, so didn't have the angle or the rotation to generate the power.
Very end-to-end game so far.
Oh, it's an absolutely fantastic fixture. And both have really good options on the bench if and when they want to switch things up. Once again, that trademark 180 finds George Holloway, and it ricochets desperately towards that left-hand post. Is pretty much a carbon copy of Bobby Allen's chance, where it looks almost a certain goal had it not been for brilliant defending from Amir Ali just to cover that post. I know we've only had 10.5 minutes, but this is the best I've watched in the weekend so far. And GBG Knights are growing into this. Kai Shah with responsibility of this corner ball into the box. I think that's probably 5 or 6 180 crosses from Kai Shah. He's so proficient at them. You can see the bravery from GBG Knights. They're happy to let Jack Ewins just take control in the centre, and Kai Shah and George Holloway are so high and wide in attacking positions. Just going to be replaced. Not just bypasses Bobby Allen once again. The 180 of Kai Shah. Mike Ursa, the commentator, talking about his proficiency at them. He misses on that occasion. If I had £1 for every time I put the commentator's curse onto a player's performance. I'd be a very rich man. First substitute signalled is going to be for Villa Rockets. I'm almost ashamed to see Bobby Allen coming off. I think he's been the brightest player for them on the court.
Definitely, I think Bobby, he's had that chance. It's maybe stuck with him a bit. He hasn't really got involved since that chance.
I think that's more the Villa as a whole, as a collective, have struggled to break down GBG's attacks. They've had more of the possession, but no doubt he'll feature again in this fixture. Strong appeals from the balcony above, and Hamza Madir is going to be getting a telling off here from Paul Yates. To Jack Ewins to take the resulting free kick. It is direct, not that it's any real opportunity from that aspect. Into George Holloway, swiped over to Kai Sharp. I want to say George Holloway has had an interesting National League career. Obviously used to operate with AFC Bournemouth Warriors, moved to Nomad Knights, spent a little bit of time out of the game when he sadly suffered some leg breaks. He's going to be given an opportunity there. It took him a bit of time to re-establish his confidence at this level, but he was a standout in last season's championship. There's no question about it, and all of his contributions in this game have been so positive. I mean, just in the league alone last season, albeit the championship, 28 goals and 14 assists, and you can see why. His intentions, his connection, his positioning is all absolutely excellent, and his teammates are really benefiting from that skill set.
Yeah, he's been a real asset to GBG Knights in this game.
It's never been about technical ability with George, it's been about confidence, and he seems to be thriving so far. Certainly this game. I think this is out to Rosie Hodgson for her first real engagement. At the conclusion of game week one, we will be running our series of Swizzles Awards. Standout player, unsung hero, team and fantasy team of the weekend. All details will be found on the WFA social media pages. And vote on who you deem to be the top performers. Amir Ali trying to bypass Jack Ewins into Dave Lewis. This is an opportunity, well read by Oscar Smedley. Just covered the arc of the ball, matched it for pace and ensured it was no real danger for his goal.
Really nice ball there from Rosie. Broke the lines really well. Just an unfortunate shot from Dave.
End-to-end stuff. Goes into too much pace for George Holloway. But again, the press, the intent, the bravery of GBG Knights is what I extract from that passage of play. 4.5 minutes. Not quite sure what the break in play is for. Into Amir Ali, tries to take it in reverse, but Jack Ewins, another incredible player who's so important to the way they play. Another who just burst onto the scene last year in the championship. And is seeming to take that confidence into the Premiership. If you're talking about unsung heroes, he's most definitely one of them. If you was to predict a winner, Ethan, based on what we've seen, based on the players, the form, the momentum, where would you put your money?
In this game, I think from what I've seen, it would have to be GBG Knights. They've tried to get the ball moving, been doing that really well. The ball down the line and across from Kai has been deadly, and I think whoever scores first will, I think, win the game, but I can see that being GBG Knights.
Jack Ewins ricochets kindly to Dave Lewis. Didn't really put the power on that crossfield ball to Amir Ali, but finds Rosie Hodgson, who gets an attempt blocked by the front bumper of Jack Ewins. Just, he's so important to their games, not just in defence but attack as well. This is an opportunity for Villa approaching that half-time break. Goes as far as Dave Lewis, who fires it home. Absolutely clinical. The initial accuracy from Rosie Hodgson, the contact from Dave Lewis. Villa Rockets 1, GBG Knights 0.
Yeah, really nice bit of football there, and a great finish from Dave.
Now it's be interesting to see how GBG Knights settle. They've had a lot of attacking chances, but nothing that you would say has really troubled the defensive pair of Villa. The margins have been so fine. I wouldn't want GBG Knights to really change their approach a great deal. Just flicked off Amir Ali.
I think GBG Knights have had chances. They just need to keep going, and I think they're going to come.
Nice from Hamza Madir, just to bypass George Holloway. Met by Jack Ewins. Dave Lewis controls the ball. Spire with a pretty comfortable 3-0 lead now over West Bromwich Albion Throstles. Dave Lewis in the latter stages of the first half can't wrap his chair around the ball. Oscar Smedley. Flick towards Kai Shah, who just pushes it down into this corner. It'll be too much pace for him to catch up, but it's probably what they needed to do to just take pressure off their defence. Villa tend to engage in a fairly high press, so it's a task in itself to break that. Down to Rosie Hodgson. We've played the regulation 20, so now into additional time. Doubt there'll be a great deal. There hasn't been many stoppages. It's been very open. Dave Lewis to take. Blocked by Oscar Smedley. They will not want to concede a second goal this late on when the margins are this fine. Get into the half-time break, assess, regroup, and come back in the second. But a 2-0 scoreline will be far harder to reverse as Dave Lewis over to Amir Ali. A last-minute save from Oscar Smedley. Didn't have a great deal of power to trouble the GBG Knights defence. As we are now a minute over regulation time. Wouldn't have said there had been enough stoppages to merit this much additional time The play does continue. Kai Shah pick off into Jack Ewins. Just couldn't get the angle at the first time or the second to locate one of his two wingers. Now approaching 2 minutes over the 20. George Holloway just pushes it out of danger, and that will be the last involvement of the first half. Thank you to all that are tuning in. To myself and Ethan Galloway, we'll be back very shortly for the second. Hello everyone and welcome back to Villa Rockets GBG Night, game week 1 of the 25-26 Slater and Gordon Premiership. And what a first 20 minutes it was. Give me your assessments, Ethan. Great first half of football.
Yeah, very end-to-end game. Both teams have had big chances. I think Villa hit the post. GBG have had a good few chances as well. The ball down the line to tie it, and then across to George has been a real threat for them. They'll obviously look to get a goal back in the second half, potentially push for the winner. But Villa then want to solidify their lead, take confidence in their performance, and really see out the game.
Yeah, I think we don't necessarily track stats, goal opportunities and possession, but if we did, you'd probably say GBG Knights have been on top. The more attacking territory, the more chances created. They just have been missing that little bit of magic in the final third.
Yeah, if they could, the contact on the finish just hasn't quite been there. Once they get that, they'll be flying.
Well, the team, probably sensibly for them, is unchanged from that finished the first half. So Jack Ewins, Oscar Smedley, Kai Shah and George Holloway. Villa likewise start as they ended the first. Hamza Madir, Amir Ali, Dave Lewis and Rosie Hodgson can have early involvement. Just ricocheted between the chairs of Rosie Hodgson and Jack Ewins, eventually going out for a GBG Knights ball. Obviously, I did a Premiership prediction podcast episode which concluded with myself, David D and Jay Pixton going through our league standings, who we'd think would finish in every one of the 12 positions. And I had GBG Knights finishing in 11th, just because you always tend to see the promoted teams as favourites for relegation. But based on what I've seen, despite the fact that they're yet to secure any points, I think they'll have more than enough in that pack at the bottom. I think they've got a nice connection, chemistry that they didn't have when they were formed as Nomad Knights.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're proven to be quite a tough team to break down. Once they kind of solidify their attack a bit more, they can pose as a real threat for many teams. And yeah,
I think if I'm looking at this as a way to potentially switch things up, I would like to see Oscar Smedley involved a little bit more in the attacking phase of play. I mean, 26 assists last season. He led the charts in the 24-25 championship. So it shows he has that eye for a decisive cutting ball, but he's been used as the predominant defensive anchor, with Jack Ewins being more of the composer, the orchestrator. But Villa edging their way up. They capitalise on a set piece. There is a gap between Kai Shah and Jack Ewins. He's going to need power and accuracy, which sadly it doesn't have for Dave Lewis, but he's happy to let that roll out for a corner, which is where they got their goal. Can they replicate almost a shift from the pattern? Dave Lewis is going to be provided into Rosie Hodgson. She fires it into that left-hand post. My God, did that have some power? Jack Ewins does just enough to win his side the ball. They're dangerous from corners, Ethan.
that was a really nice corner. Really nice shot from Rosie, and I think very unlucky that didn't ricochet off the post and in.
That's now the third opportunity we've had in this game for either side where it looks almost a certain goal. Bobby Allen in the first. I think Rosie Hodgson twice now. But to us, this has been a fantastic game, and it hasn't dipped in terms of its intensity. Amir Ali now over to take. Dave Lewis rooted into that top left-hand corner, receives possession. Amir Ali just communicating with Rosie Hodgson, and Dave Lewis saw a gap there, and there was a gap there. Oscar Smedley had to adjust at the last second to ensure Dave Lewis didn't register his brace. Another corner ball. Can they capitalise? It's clearly something they've been working on. Dave Lewis into his 180, read by Jack Ewins.
I'd like to see Villa use their goalkeeper here.
I don't disagree, but that would lead to some vulnerabilities in defence, and when the margins are so fine in this league as we've spoken about, it's risk versus reward, and all the while they maintain and have that one goal advantage, it's almost not necessary. I'm always for that fourth player contributing in some way, in some fashion, but that would leave gaps in behind, and we know how quick GBG Knights can turn a game round through a quick decisive counter-attack. So just have to be careful about that. They're being conservative and they're in the ascendancy here, knocking on the door for a second. Yeah, that's an important interception from George Holloway, just to try and push it up the court. Strong communication from Kai Shah all the way on the opposite wing. And we can hear him loud and clear. Well left that from George Holloway. With it being so finely poised, I doubt we'll see any GBG Knights changes. Jack Ewins just forces his way up. George Holloway is trapped in that top corner. They won't want to give away a needless 2-on-1, so he has to be very considerate of his placement. Amir Ali. That's an interesting decision. It was deemed too aggressive from Jack Ewins. I think it was very much a 50-50 and all just escapes Dave Lewis. Smedley into George Holloway. Beautiful pass to ricochets kindly to Kai Shah into the 180 across the box. I think he probably needed to go for goal himself there, and the secondary effort from George Holloway, a rare miss hit. A fantastic opportunity, and that's what I was talking about, Ethan, how quickly they can turn defence into a very credible counter-attack.
Yeah, first real chance of the half for GBG United. Villa came out really strong and nullified the GBG attack, but didn't look to do more of that. They broke the lines really well there, and a nice ball across from Ty. Yeah, again.
Jack Ewins trying to locate George Holloway. I think Rosie Hodgson deemed the aggressor. Tries an effort towards goal, no real trouble. Secondary effort might be though. Lovely ball from Dave Lewis. I think he's been the standout for Villa.
Definitely. He's been the one that's played on the right passes to the people. Almost the glue that's held them together in a way.
Rosie Hodgson. Just at times with Rosie Hodgson has a tendency to try and force things. There was no real line of sight for goal there. Had to be a little bit more patient. But she does win a corner ball, which may have been the intent in the first place, and it's a carbon copy of the opener. This time Oscar Smedley gets across. They're so dangerous from them. They have been every time they've had one in this game. They are really knocking on the door for a second. Dave Lewis into the box, swept up by Rosie Hodgson. Little tap from Jack Ewins. See, if I was a ref, I'd probably let that go. I think the ball got trapped and no malice, no intent, and there was no appeals either, for that matter.
It was soft contact, definitely.
But it has been consistent with the way that Paul Yates has officiated, which is all you can ask for. As Amir Ali finds Rosie Hodgson. Was never going to locate Dave Lewis. There is a little gap there, but Jack Ewins does... One of the best attributes to Jack Ewins' game is how well he reads potential opportunities and puts his chair in a position that negates success. Approaching the 30-minute mark. Can GBG Knights find something that gets them back into this game? Beyond one half chance. It's been all Villa in this second.
They've really came out from their second half team talk, all guns blazing, nullified the GBG attack really well, and they've, they're really seeing out the game well.
One thing that's undeniable with this Villa side, as I just wait for this opportunity, nicely taken by Rosie Hodgson across the box. There was a gap there. Dave Lewis was following it up. That's much better from Rosie Hodgson. She was patient, didn't pull the trigger, waited for those supporting players to surround her. One thing that's undeniable about this Villa team is the experience. And it's a question I pose of them, is how that experience gelled together, because they're also very strong characters with very different interpretations to tactics and approaches. Amir Ali, Dave Lewis, Rosie Hodgson, Kieran Byrne, to mention just 4 players. But if they get it right, that can be their superpower, that experience. And they're just managing this game as you would expect them to, despite a few scares. It will need a real moment of magic or luck from GBG Knights if they're to get anything from this, because Hamza Madir's had a very quiet second half. Too much pace for Dave Lewis, so he just drops off. Probably doesn't translate over the streams, but Rosie Hodgson, she's so supportive of the players around her, applauding everything, cheering on everything. But she's itching to get off the mark. George Holloway switches play, nice clean contact, doesn't necessarily have it from Kai Shah. At what point do they maybe commit Oscar forward a little bit more?
I think it needs to be soon if GBG want to get anything out of this game.
I think we'll see GBG Knights alter and switch significantly across the season, depending on their opposition. I think Jack Ewins is the more defensively minded, stubborn, central player. Oscar Smedley, being only his second year competing at National League level, one in the Championship, this is his first outing in the Premiership, is probably more of an attacking threat, more of a creator, but I don't think that he'll be able to impart that influence quite like he did in the Championship, just because of the quality and the opponents that he'll be coming up against. It'll be a real learning year for him. I just hope he and others aren't disheartened when things don't necessarily go their way, because that is the reality of the top flight, not just in England, but I regard this as the best setup anywhere worldwide. We are going to see a change, and it's Oscar Smedley, the man in question, who's going to come off. Ben Keat, the Australian, coming on. So a switch up centrally for GBG Knights. He's Kai Shah and Jack Ewins act as that pivot. Ben Keat is probably going to be the high and wide winger. Has to be alert there. 2-on-1 will be awarded if he doesn't vacate that space quickly. Good control by Jack Ewins, trying to flick it over to the Australian. Certainly opening up. You can see GBG Knights are trying new things late on. Ewins into Kai Shah. George Holloway, strange decision that. Would have been much better to just leave it to go out. They come away with it, but that was more from Rosie Hodgson not being set. Advantage played, which gave Dave Lewis an opportunity to vacate that wing, despite his placement with Amir Ali. Kai Shah playing off the rebound. I think even if they do come out of this game with no points, there is a lot of positives here for GBG Knights.
Yeah, definitely. They've been a real threat for Villa on the counter-attack. Tough to break down as well. Villa's corners have been the only real opportunity that they've had. Obviously, they capitalised on one of them. But yeah, really promising signs from GBG.
I think when we're talking about those packs and those teams in the division, Villa are almost a team in limbo, because they're not one of the top competitors, but they will never be in the conversation for potential relegation. So I think based on that, GBG Knights would have always been the underdogs in this game. But they will take confidence from their performance against someone who's competed at this level for so many years. Certainly as long as I've been in the sport. One late rally. GBG Knights have just lost that little bit of sharpness we saw in the first 20 minutes. Strong battle, Rosie Hodgson trapped. The flick goal bound from Amir Ali. Been so impressed with Jack Ewins. Such a strong central player.
He's been very good. Strong in the dribble, and his distribution as well has been pretty spot on.
Head in the hands there as it's flicked away from George Holloway. 3 minutes before the end. Amir Ali. Dave Lewis just weaves past Kai Sharp. Rosie Hodgson desperately trying to allow Lewis the space on that right-hand wing of Villa. The left is you're viewing it. He's out for a Villa ball. Ricochet's goal bound. That's a really unfortunate own goal. It come off the back of Jack Ewins. You can see how frustrated he is with it. I really would implore him and GBG United as a whole not to dwell on that. That is just an unfortunate event. That is no reflection on the way they have played and the effort and the application they have had in this game.
Yeah, really unfortunate goal there for GBG to concede. Just it rebounded off Jack's chair, and these things happen in football.
Yeah, they do. But as mentioned, so many positives to take. Who would you say is your player of the match, Ethan?
I think it's difficult to look past Dave Lewis. He's been superb for Villa, obviously. Got the first goal. It probably allowed Villa to attack a bit more, having that almost security net of being 1-0 up.
They've built on that foundation, haven't they?
And just seen the game out very well. Dead balls have been very accurate as well. So yeah, difficult to look past Dave Lewis.
No, I completely agree. He's been the constant, played every minute of this tie, and is seemingly going to be the one that helps them secure their first win of the season. And that is the full-time whistle. Villa Rockets 2, GBG Knights 0. A fantastic fixture of football with Villa off the mark. Next up for them, they've got a tough one against Teesside, which shows the importance of getting 3 points here. GBG Knights have a fascinating fixture this afternoon against yourself and Middlesbrough. What a game that promises to be.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. GBG bound looks a little bit tough to break down, but should be a good game.
Absolutely it will. Thank you so much for joining me, Ethan. I hope the first of many.
Yep.
And thank you to everyone that's tuned in.
Awesome, thanks.